guys, it's Jessica, and the year is halfway over already. It's time again for us to talk about my favorite reads of the second quarter. I want to give an honorable mention to the Plated Prisoner series. I reread books 1 through 3 back in May, so I could summarize and get all of us ready for Glow, and you can check out that video here. As always, these stories are in no particular order, and I'm going to be talking about series instead of individual books. First is going to be Passing by Nella Larsen. This book was written in the 1920s. It is a story that is about two Black women who grew up together. One of them left early in their childhood, and they meet back up as adults, where one of them is passing as a white person, and the other one of them is living in a Black liberations movement, kind of Harlem white lifestyle. And they sort of catch up and talk about how they got to those places, and they talk about the strengths and the limitations of living those individual lifestyles. I found the subject matter to be really interesting. It wasn't something I was personally well informed on, so it gave me some history and some context and some more things to think about, just culturally, things for me to be more aware of going forward. Also, I loved Nella Larsen's prose. I thought that she was really soft and feminine and just like so dainty, and she had just such a fun way of writing, and I really enjoyed all of that. There was, to me, some serious lesbian subtext going on in this story, and I kind of really enjoyed it.
Editing Jess here. I realize that we're in the middle of Pride Month, or possibly the end of it, depending on when this video goes up, and it seems very clickbaity for me just to say that this has got some sapphic undertones without clarifying further, especially given this is a late 1920s story, so a lot of people might think that I'm just projecting modern interpretation on an older work. So besides the fact that Irene many times mentions how beautiful Claire is, how nobody can turn away her smile, how charismatic and mesmerizing her friend is, how she has a wanting way but nobody can say no to her because she's just that beautiful and appealing, I also picked out a specific passage. It's on page 94 of my version of the book. At this point, Claire has started going to a lot of the benefits that Irene is throwing, and she's going with their whole family. Didn't he, she once asked him, think Claire was extraordinarily beautiful? No, he had answered. That is, not particularly. Brian, you're fooling. No, honestly. Maybe I'm fussy. I suppose she'd be an unusually good-looking white woman. I like my ladies darker. Later in that same chapter, Claire and Irene are having a conversation where Claire is expressing how she wishes to escape her white passing life and join Irene, and Irene reminds Claire of her child. Children aren't everything, was Claire Kendry's answer to that. There are other things in this world, though I admit some people don't seem to suspect it. And she laughed. More, it seemed, at some secret joke than her own words. Irene replied, You know you don't mean that, Claire. You're only trying to tease me. I know very well that I take being a mother rather seriously. I'm wrapped up in my boys and the running of my house. I can't help it. And really, I don't think it's anything to laugh at. And though she was aware of the slight primness in her words and attitude, she had neither the power nor wish to efface it. Claire, suddenly very sober and sweet, said, You're right. It's no laughing matter. It's shameful of me to tease you, Renee. You are so good. And she reached out and gave Irene's hand an affectionate little squeeze. Don't think, she added, whatever happens, that I'll ever forget how good you've been to me. So again, this is a conversation where Claire's talking about leaving her husband and her child and staying with Irene. She's talking about how there are some things in the world more important than family, how no matter what happens from here, she'll always be grateful to her. Combine that with Irene always being distracted by Claire's beauty, mentioning it all the time. It just seems like they're both a little obsessed with each other, and like where they have a relationship that has interesting boundaries. I don't really know how else to parse that. And it's like these moments of them touching or having longing looks, or talking about running away together or living together, that kind of hint to me that there's some kind of attraction there, not necessarily a relationship specifically, but a pull for something more.
I might have just been putting a modern spin on it. It might not really be there, but I thought there was like a little bit of perhaps like unrequited love or maybe a secret love going on there, and that was interesting. The book I got in specific had really great formatting. I loved the little borders and columns and flourishes that had that Nouveau 20s style on them. Overall, it was like a really wonderful experience, and I buddy read this, so I got to discuss it back and forth with my friend while we were reading it, and that just added to the experience too. It's really short. I think it's only like 140 pages, and the book itself, like that came with teeny tiny and had pretty reasonable size font, so it's a very quick read. It's really good, and I highly recommend it. Next is going to be the Trespass collection. I've got a whole video detailing what I liked about that collection you can check out here. It gave me a taste of several more popular modern authors. This was my first time reading them, even if they were on my list of people I wanted to get to eventually. And their covers were great, the formatting was great. Most of them had some kind of science fiction or fantasy speculative element in it that I really enjoyed. Almost all of them had some kind of theming or element that carried on after I was done reading and left me thinking about it and just enjoying it for longer than the hour or so it took me to read it. And for me, that's part of what I really like about fiction. Next is going to be Parable of the Sower and Parable of Talents by Octavia E. Butler. I was pleased with Parable of the Sower. I think I rated it 4 stars. But Parable of the Talents takes everything and just brings it to the next level. I know this was meant to be a longer series, but for me, Parable of Talents has like a very definitive ending that's satisfying. And I really loved how Parable of Talents turned some things around. It was really twisty. It was more relatable and interesting to me than Parable of the Sower was. It was less preachy and more like down to earth, sort of showing you instead of telling you things. I feel like Parable of Talents kind of hit its stride. We've done all the world building, build up in Sower, and now we're in Talents and we're just having a good time. And then the last thing is going to be the 5-pack series by Cate C. Wells. I read book 1 and 2, and I'm anxiously awaiting book 3. This is a werewolf shifter story. After trying to get like a new werewolf shifter story, looking at all of Amazon's most popular ones and kind of failing to be interested in any of them, that I had thought like maybe I was just werewolfed out and I wasn't going to be interested in any more werewolf reads for a long time. And I think I was just having a hard time finding one that was well written and resonated with me, because this 5-pack series by Cate C. Wells is awesome. It's got like all of the fun wolfy things. It's got strong pack theming. It has like that top dog and lower totem sort of like structure going on. It has like little separate wolf packs inside the larger wolf pack, and it has like a large wolf pack in one area and another large wolf pack in another. So it's got like all those different kinds of interpack dynamics happening. And like the relationship push and pull, the sneaking around, like all of it's a lot of fun. And it's really entertaining. I found the leads in both of these stories to be like really relatable, engaging sort of women. And I found them both to be really different and independent female leads in their own ways too. Overall, really good. And it was fun too, because I don't usually read stories as they release. And the 5-pack series, the second one, which I think is the Heir Ascendant, but I'll correct myself somewhere on the screen here because I'm probably wrong. The second one came out like in May as I was reading the first one. I got to be part of the Timely BookTube like fawning over it moment too. So they're going to be my top 4 series reads for the second quarter. It probably doesn't sound a lot, but it's actually most of the series that I read between March and June have made it onto this list. I just haven't been reading as much this year as I did last year, which was actually part of my goals for this year, was to read less and be more involved in some other projects that I have going on. So far, that's been a little bit mixed. Maybe I'll give you guys a project update later, but tell me what you guys have been reading. What was your favorite read this quarter? Let me know in those comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, keep reading. Bye!